For those who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about who you are as a creator?
Yeah, cool. So I go by the name Tokio Myers, and I am a pianist and a composer. I produce and I write and I perform.
And what does your creative process look like right now, and how has it changed over the
Oh
years?
my gosh. I think at the root of it, traveling has been the biggest inspiration
Yeah,
of what I do for the longest time. Meeting so many different characters and seeing the different cultures, everything from
yeah,
food to dance to fashion to the language,
yeah,
life,
yeah,
what's going on in the world, good, bad, is what really influences everything that I do.
yeah,
And then I tend to just sort of like go straight to the piano and sort of sketch all my ideas. But I can
yeah.
hear sometimes if it's a produced track, what else I kind of want to start doing. And it's just a mess. From there, it's just
Sure.
experimenting and trying stuff out.
Yeah,
And that part can be quite exhausting.
yeah,
But I think once you can get to that, get past the storm, as it were, and get through that, everything starts to just sort of come together really beautifully. I'm a big fan of like imagery as well, so I do like to, um, when I'm in my studio, I have lots of imagery playing in the background, lots of flashing lights and strobes,
yeah,
quite intense stuff actually.
yeah.
Yeah, not quite what people would think. People think, oh, you've just written a really beautiful piece, so you must have been inspired by the flowers and the sun this
Sure,
morning.
yeah.
And it really wasn't. It was probably something completely the opposite of that. I don't know, like maybe I'm just like just this yin and yang, pull and push is yeah, right at the core of everything that
Right
I've
at the
done my
core.
whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a place that you've been or a person that you've met that has like unexpectedly inspired a piece or your creative
Yeah, all
process?
all the time, all the
Yeah.
time, all the time. I mean, I was gonna play a piece today, actually. Yeah, just it's nothing crazy. It's just inspired by the birth of my daughter. Actually, I've got a 3-year-old,
Yeah.
beautiful girl called Malaya, and I just remember composing this piece. It's called Malaya's Song. Like a couple of weeks after she was born, and we were like in the middle of this like hurricane of like moving house and moving from the city that I'm from, London, and moving everything out. And I remember coming back to my flat, and it was completely empty, and the only thing left in there was the piano. And I was so emotional, like becoming a dad, man. A
Yeah.
father. It was a big deal. It's a big deal. And I just sat and came up with this melody. It's just really simple melody. And I remember getting my mobile phone out and recording it. And I tried to record it in all these different mics and studios. And the recording that I ended up releasing at the end was the
Yeah.
same one that I used from my phone, my iPhone, because it caught the essence and the magic,
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yeah, lots of random kind of moments where I just get an idea. Like, people say like, do you wake up in the middle of the night and do things come to you? Yeah, I just get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've got
Sure.
a melody, and I have to go to the studio quickly to jot that idea down. It could be just a simple motif, or
Yeah.
if I hear a melody in your voice,
Sure. Yeah.
the way you speak, I might hear a tone or something, and I'm like, I love that. I'm recording things all the time, like
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds, sampling sounds from walks of life. People must think I'm an absolute nutter sometimes, like a car screech, and I'll be like, rah, I
Sure.
love the sound of that screech. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can affect that and like change it completely,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
there's like a really strong history of that, like a really strong tradition of people sampling and producing samples like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that
But
was one of the questions I had for you. Like,
right,
how do you have a sample box and a synth that you play with a lot of
yeah,
the time?
yeah.
Like, where do you find that inspiration, that audio and produce?
Yeah, I mean, I started producing when I was in my early 20s. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I had Logic Pro and started messing around. I've actually never taken a production course in my life.
Sure.
So even to this day, I don't know if I'm doing things right, but I just know what feels right. In terms of production, like I said, it's a completely different ball game from sitting at the piano and just writing a piano song and a piano piece. But like you say, yeah, I've got a sample pad that I use that triggers production and sounds, and I chop it up and stuff.
Yeah.
The process is wild, man. Going from having an idea to bringing the idea to life, to then producing it, to then mixing it sometimes and then getting that mastered, to then figuring out how I'm going to play it live. Because I have different live setups. Sometimes it's just a piano, sometimes it's piano and pad, sometimes it's piano pad and like 3 or 4 synths. I have floor toms and a snare, a steel pan, drum pads and a bunch of percussion instruments and lots of electronic equipment. So like to figure out, like I'm doing all this on my own. Some people have like MDs and tour managers and all that kind of stuff, and it's a lot of work. And I think not to sound egotistical, but I think that is probably the reason why I am quite unique and like one of the only few people doing what I'm doing, because it's very expensive to do, expensive to run, expensive to tour out, expensive to have your 360 set up in your house and have one on the road, and it's a lot of work. Like it's a labor of love. You gotta love what you do. I'm really excited about the new music that I've got and where I'm planning to take it all soon, you know?
Yeah. And I do want to get there in a minute. I do want to go back there. You're talking about these being really inspired by these like visual elements that a lot of folks wouldn't anticipate. And I got to go to your show on Saturday, which was great.
Oh, thank you.
And there was a really strong like musical narrative, but there were these really strong visuals as well. Is that part of the production process for you as well? Like working through visuals to present to the audience?
That 100%. I mean, the visuals were done by Jason, an amazing visual artist. I've had the pleasure of working with Ez Devlin. She's done a bunch of stuff for Beyonce and Adele and The Weeknd and all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah, imagery is a huge factor. Like a lot of my inspiration comes from visuals anyway. I love strobes, I love lights, I love shapes, I don't know, do you know what it is? I think like growing up, I listened to a lot of like EDM and hip hop music. And I think as a kid, I wanted to be a rapper.
Okay.
So I actually started off rapping. That was my thing. And I don't know, I just started having piano lessons and just stopped rapping and going into like rap world, classical world. Very, very crazy little journey. Yeah, loads of that kind of stuff, man. Like the energy, the production, I kind of want to emulate that. And the same thing with EDM, man, like Rufus the Soul or Justice. Or, you know, like so many, like I love the grit, the grind. I love the kind of rock and roll energy. And yeah, just trying to bring some of that world into the classical world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is, you know, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, it's getting a lot of love, and people seem to sort of like, you know, I think the great thing about that is that it starts to tell a story. There's a storyline.
Yeah.
You know, you're going from something that's like really heavy and dancey and upbeat to super chill and melodic and calm, and you don't really get that happening in a set like so that was so much, you know.
That's something that like really hit me on Saturday, was this like push and pull, that you had this tension and release. Is that something that like organically happens on stage, or are you practicing that in your home studio?
I think it's just like who I am as a person, man. I'm a very we're all complex, right? But I know I'm complex. I'm definitely a complex being, and you know, introvert, extrovert, you know, like either chilling or doing everything. Like, I don't know, man. Like, weird, all of it. And I think that just comes out in the creativity that I do. Like, I haven't thought about it. It just comes. It's just natural. Sometimes I'm worried that it's like too much information sometimes with the performance side of things. Like, I don't know if this is going to make sense to everybody else, but you know, this is just what's coming. And sometimes I listen back to it and I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of information to give for one show. But everyone comes and tells me like it's different and cool. So I just keep going, you know.
No, I mean, it was
Tell me the truth,
hip.
guys.
No, it was super hip. I like genuinely, like on a personal level, like I really enjoyed the dichotomy of it. I was like, oh, oh wow, like this is like rhythmically complex, and then all of a sudden like this, you're gonna sit in a chord for a minute,
right.
and I was like, no, this is cool. Yeah, it's kind of
it's different. It's different.
It is different.
Yeah,
it is different.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about some of your most recent work. I listened to your latest album, I think, specifically like Wave A2 #1 and The Lullaby.
Yeah.
And it has this very beautiful like minimalist kind of Philip Glass, Julius Eastman vibe, and very like strong visual element with the music video. Can you just talk a little bit about that creative process?
They're two very different things, the piano process and the production. As I was saying earlier, piano it comes naturally. I spent a lot of time in the last kind of 7 years by water, by the sea. Okay. I'm fortunate that I have a home in Greece as well as in the UK, and I spent a lot of time in Greece. So I love the Greek people, and I see a lot of the sea. I love to swim. I love snorkeling. I love diving. I love just putting my body in the water. I just feel like I'm a fish. I belong there. If I could stay there forever, I would.
Sure.
But you stay there too long, you shrivel up.
Yeah.
We're just not made for it. But I wish I was. I mean, I can just spend hours just listening to the waves and just watching the different shapes and the rhythms.
Yeah.
And you can feel that when you swim. You can feel the currents pulling you here and there. I'm addicted to that.
Yeah.
And I guess I try to emulate some of that in my music, in particular waves. There's a lot of cross rhythms going on. Simplicity as well. I think that's the key. Like nature, when you look at it, the shapes are so simple.
Yeah.
But complex at the same time. And it's just finding that balance with the tracks that are right to keep it simple but have something that is a little bit complex, whether it's arpeggiated rhythms or syncopated rhythms, but not too much. And the same things with the constellations. And I've actually written an album that is called The Universe. And it's kind of influenced by Gustav Holst's planets.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I've gone through and done our solar system and added a couple more that Gustav Holst had left out, like Earth, for instance. And it's about a 55-minute album inspired by the planets in the solar system. And it's again inspired by some of the Greek mythology behind it, what they think the characteristics of each planet are. And that is piano and orchestral and beats and production and all that kind of stuff. Just trying to find the meaning of life, like what is this?
The very simple question. What is the meaning?
What is this? We go to work, we've got all this stuff, we built houses and we've, created this, like, this is someone's idea of life. This is someone else's idea.
Sure.
If we were born and had just a minute to just think by ourselves, to be like, what are we doing? What's our purpose? But we've all just been like sort of flung into the matrix and like just the whole construct of living is it's weird, but like I don't know if enough of us like sit and think about it, like what is all of this? Cars and buses and trains and airplanes and taxes and whatever. It's just wild, so I kind of like to just zoom out. I've got a tattoo of a UFO ship with wings, oddly. Got that when I was 18, just to remind me to just like zoom out of the matrix sometimes and we're just a tiny little speck in this huge vacuum.
Totally. Like, is it the nature of society, like the reality of society, or is it the nature of reality itself that's like that you're sitting on?
I think all of it. I think all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think growing up in a city like London, which is super cosmopolitan, and it's got all the grit, the grind, the different levels, the gargoyles. It feels like you're in Gotham City sometimes, and you've got bankers, and you've got rich and poor, and all the different people from around the world come there, and you can, I'm an observer. I just like to sit in Leicester Square and just look out and just observe everything that's going on sometimes. yeah, I'm hypersensitive to people, I think,
Yeah,
and their stories. I love listening to the stories.
sure.
I spoke to my cleaner this morning, who's Venezuelan, and yeah, just listening to her talk about her family and stuff, and learning some Spanish and
Sure.
stuff like that. Like, I don't know, it's just fascinating. It's great to hear all these things, and I'll
Yeah.
take that away and go and write a piece about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I usually like kind of wrap up interviews. I feel like we've been touching on it, but do you have like a philosophy behind your creating or like an ethos behind music that you sit with?
I'm just still trying to figure that out.
Still trying to figure it out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
still trying to figure that out. I mean, there's definitely like a pulsating rhythm that I've noticed hasn't left me since like I've started this journey, which is great. Like, I
Yeah.
think once that goes, that's not, I don't know what that means, but yeah, there's definitely some sort of like try and save the world, or like try and figure out what the question to life is, or help people some way, shape or form, or I don't really know. I have no idea,
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's kind of the cool part of it. Like, who really knows what.
Sure.
Does anyone have the answer?
Probably not. I feel like they'd probably be lying to you. I probably shouldn't say that on camera, but I feel like probably not. Yeah, they'd be lying to you
Let's
if they
switch the
said.
interview and you for a second.
Yeah, yeah. I know you're super busy, but do you have any hopes for what's next for you as like a creative or a musician?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely challenges in what I'm doing. I've been saying this
Yeah.
quite a lot to people at South by Southwest for the first time ever, and the challenge is that I feel like, one, it's a great time to be experimental. It kind of feels like we've gone back full circle to like the 70s era,
Yeah.
where the eclecticness of music that is out at that time, and that was 60s, 70s synths just sort of like came on board, and all the emulations and experimenting, and people going into studios with lab coats because they were literally creating the sounds that
Yeah.
I just sort of like click a button and it's there.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
All of that is coming back around again because there's the technology. There's a whole new wave of technology that's come out, and stuff that wasn't there in the 70s, and we're all just figuring this out and experimenting and playing with it, and so much cool music is out at the minute. It's beautiful, it's amazing. But then on the flip side, like zooming back to what I'm doing, which is like fusing classical with lots of genres of music from EDM to hip hop, I find that it's been challenging because it feels like industry is quite boxy. Like, if you're an EDM person, stick to your EDM. If you're classical, you're classical.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't sit in either. And yeah, it's been great, and I've done lots of cool stuff. But yeah, I just want to push. I really want to try to break that barrier that I feel is there. Is that I feel like I get messages from the younger generation and stuff like that, and I know a few people that are kind of doing similar things to me, like who are younger, and I just want that to sort of create a whole new space for us to be able to fuse those two genres together and be as commercially successful as an EDM or a concert pianist. So yeah, I think that's been my mission for the last kind of several years, really, is to keep pushing that section,
Absolutely.
so we'll see.
Outside of that, do you have any EPs, albums, tours coming up that you want to share with folks?
Yeah, I've been working really hard on lots of music in the last few years, actually. I've got 5 albums, sat on 5 very different albums, one with gospel, choir and piano and orchestra.
Yeah.
I've got another one, which is the Planets Universe album. I've got a piano solo album. I've got a very experimental cinematic sounding album. Yeah, planning to release lots of new music soon, and doing tours in the UK, and hoping to do some tours in Europe as well. I'm sure I'll be out in the States. I'm always like back and forth doing some kind of events and shows here. I was in Vegas a couple months ago, doing a huge show out there, and yeah, lots of cool stuff. There's the festivals as well coming up in the summer.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing those in the UK too. But yeah, the World's a big place.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today here at KMFA.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and if folks want to see you later on this week for South by, where can they catch you?
Well, I'm playing a show on Thursday, 13th at the Cooper's Barbecue. And my slot time is at 10 o'clock, and I can't wait for that. It's going to be great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much once again for your time.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, guys.